Hey, so what do you think
Do you think it's expensive?
to rent in Miami here?
I'd imagine.
Hey everybody, and
Hi.
welcome to another video of Beyond the Beach. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for watching and thank you for all the comments. We've been going through all the comments and it seems that one of the things you guys are most interested about is how we're able to make living in Miami work. We did a lot of videos about asking strangers how they made living in Miami work. And a lot of the comments we got were that, Miami's really expensive, it's hard to live here. So we wanted to share our perspective and a little bit about how much we pay for rent in Miami and how we make living in Miami work.
So in this video, we're going to share with you how much we pay for rent. We're also going to share with you how we come about our decisions of finding the places that we want to live in Miami. So Martino and I, we actually been living here together since 2019. So 3 years in Miami, we moved every year. So we just want to share a bit of like our value systems of how we come about, again, deciding where we want to move. Also just diving into more detail about the different market changes that we've experienced living here for the past 3 years and what we may expect to come in the future as Miami grows in popularity. So thank you again for all your support and let's get into the video.
Guys, so first, we want to start out this video with sharing you guys some data about living here in Miami. So according to rentcafe.com, the average rent in Miami is $2,356 in 2022, and that apartment size is 888 square feet.
And this is for 1-1, by the way.
This is for 1-1. And the site also adds that Miami has one of the most expensive rental markets in the United States. Look it up if you don't believe me. And lastly, the most expensive neighborhoods in Miami are the Miami Design District, Brickell, and Brickell Key, with the average rental price for a 1-1 of $3,143. And I will say that's expected. Those are the nicest places to live here in Miami.
Yeah, I agree.
But we'll go over how you can get a cheaper rent in the city.
If you're interested. As we mentioned before, we've been living in Miami for 3 years and we moved each and every year that we're living. We're actually moving again. We'll talk about that later in the video. So we'll go over the 3 places that we lived in Miami and the difference in price and square footage, just so you get an idea of what Miami has to offer other than like the lavish lifestyle that Miami is known for. So the first place that we lived in is in Fontainebleau, this Fontainebleau area. We lived in a studio apartment and that was for $1,350 a month and about 650 square feet. The next place we lived was in Doral, just a little north of Fontainebleau. It was for $1,750 price per month. 1-1, it came with the den area. It was spacious. I loved it. Came with great amenities. Amazing.
Amazing. Our favorite place that we lived so far.
By far.
And that was a great price for what we got. And that was right before the pandemic.
And then the pandemic. So funny story. So we can dive into this. So we lived in Doral. Oh, oops.
Yeah.
We lived there. At post-pandemic, we got in sweet deal, right? Sitting pretty for our lease.
Yeah.
But then of course, after the pandemic, so many people realized, oh snap, Florida's quite free. Let's move down to Florida. That drove up the prices. So our $1,750 per month went up to $2,800 per month.
Yeah. At the same place, we didn't want to leave, but we had to because the prices like skyrocketed by $1,000. We only had 2 months notice and they increased rent by $1,000 from 1 year to the next. That's what happened in Miami in 2021.
Yeah, just to bring it to like a picture, like, okay, wow, the prices really did change and shape the atmosphere. So from there, we moved from Doral to an area south. It's called South Miami, and we got a sweet deal, like honestly, by the grace of God. I don't even know how we made it out, getting an apartment for $1,850 during that big boom. And that's for about 670 square feet. That gives you kind of an idea of how the market changed in Miami for this just big influx of people moving, the attractiveness of Miami just being like, okay, like there's still activity going on post-pandemic, and it was just very popular amongst a lot of people. And I just increased the prices, which then of course changes your cost of living and your quality of living.
So just a quick recap from 2019 to 2020, we lived in Fontainebleau, and the price for that was like $1,350 per month. And then from 2020 to 2021, we lived in Doral, and that was $1,750 with amazing amenities, way better amenities than the last place, and great location as well. And when we tried to renew that lease in 2021, for 2021, 2022, the rent increased by $1,000 in 2021.
Yeah.
So we had to move again in 2021 for 2021 and 2022 in South Miami. So we moved to South Miami and we're paying $1,850, which was, just to be honest with you guys, we were paying like under market rate rent South Miami for $1,850.
Yeah, and it's really important to also mention that because even now we were moving and we're trying to find a place similar to that, just based on our value system. We want to keep expenses just like affordable, and even realizing, okay, we have to move out. Let's try and find something in a similar area. For where we're living, $1,850, the same unit would actually go for $2,300.
Yeah.
So we got a great deal by finding that apartment for that rate at that time, and no complaints. I love my landlord. Thank you.
And we really want to talk about how we justify living here in Miami and paying the rent costs that we do and having to move every single year just to make sure that we're paying a good price. So a lot of people have the question, like, why would you stay in Miami if it's so expensive? Well, it's a really personal question, and you'll hear from some of the locals about why they decide to stay as well. But for me, I've always wanted to live in a nice tropical place. There was also a lot of opportunity here for work, especially if you're in like sales, real estate, finance. There was a lot of opportunities here in Miami, and so that's what brought me down here and what made me decide to keep staying here. How we determine where we want to live and how much we're comfortable paying rent is based on our value system. So for Shireen and I, the most important things to us, number one is the location.
Location.
Yeah, how long is our commute to work? How much our monthly cost is for rent? And then also what we get for that price. Mm-hmm. In one scenario, we'd be okay paying a little bit more if we have better amenities.
Yeah.
Or we'll be okay paying a little bit more if we have a better location. If you get a job in one location, you don't have to necessarily live there. You can live outside of there as long as you understand how you can make it work.
So if you're curious on how you can find great prices in Miami, for us, we've used Zillow, Rent Cafe, and I personally even just drive and walk by to some of the apartment complexes and see what they have to offer. I also find that to be a very successful approach because they will be able to market their deals for you. Just to give a little detail for where we're moving next, because I went in person, I found out they actually offered a special where if I were to sign before a certain time, I could receive up to 2 months for free. So that's a great insight for you to know. If you're able to visit the apartment complex that you're interested in moving to in person, go in person, show your face, ask questions about their specials, because sometimes that's not communicated on rental websites like Zillow and rent.com.
What about if you don't live here?
Look them up on Google. Google listing will have their phone number. Get in touch with a representative and ask critical questions like what specials that they're offering, what amenities that they offer, and the prices per unit depending on the sizing that you like.
And a really famous comment that we got on our YouTube channel was that it's only possible to live in Miami if you have a roommate. And I just want to address, that comment. You're totally right. For us and my friends that I know are living here on their own with, away from their families, it's really hard to make it work unless you have a great job by yourself. It's way better to find a roommate. So choose one. Hey, so what do you think? Do you think it's expensive living here in Miami?
I think it's definitely dependent on the area.
Yeah.
So it's completely up to whether or not you're living towards hotspots. So hotspots being like a lot of areas with restaurants, with malls, attractions, places like that. But otherwise, you're looking at a bit of a commute, but cheaper area. Again, if you were to go towards Homestead or something like that, where it's a lot less attractions.
Right.
Because it's all rural, it's all farm area.
And Homestead's really south.
Yeah.
Homestead's really south.
Really south. But it's definitely, you're going to look for a little bit more bang for your buck.
Do you rent here in Miami?
I don't rent here in Miami, no.
Oh, how come?
Because me and my parents are homeowners.
Okay, wow.
We actually all just share the mortgage.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's awesome. Yeah, and we've heard that a lot. Like a lot of people are like living with their families because it's too expensive to go live out on your own.
Exactly. And when you have like the mortgage and the rent kind of being very similar in price,
yeah,
it's more beneficial. Like you're going to have a lot more homeowners than you are renters, which is kind of like the big shift that you're starting to see, especially in South Florida. Florida, like Miami and all those places, you're gonna look towards heavier homeowners than you are renters.
Facts.
Because of that. So
Appreciate it, bro.
oh, of course, man.
Thank you, man.
We wanted to ask, do you currently rent in Miami?
No.
No. Do you think it's expensive to live in Miami if you were to live on your own?
100%.
Yeah.
Me and my friends were looking for apartments and it was like ridiculous. I was like, yeah, no.
What did you see out there during your search?
Well, we saw a couple affordable ones, but there was a lot to fix. Like I had to do a bunch of stuff to like make it comfortable.
Mhm.
And then the ones that were like good were too expensive, like way out of my budget.
What areas were you looking at?
I was
don't mind me
looking
asking.
near like the zoo, near like the crossings and by FIU.
Would you say trying to live in the city is like super expensive and like
yeah.
outrageous? Like, so you find it to be like easier search to be away?
Yeah, because living in Miami Beach or like downtown Miami, it's crazy over there.
Right. Awesome. Well, thank you for your time.
Welcome.
So really based on what we heard, it's not that Miami in particular is super expensive. Of course, yes, if you want to live in the luxury buildings, it's gonna cost. But what it is more than anything is you gotta do your homework and you gotta find what fits for you. From after the conversation we had with some people, we realized that some of them were still in school, some of them were trying to save. So they also had different goals and that's why they didn't rent.
Yeah.
They could do it, I'm sure, if they wanted to, but they were living according to the goals they had in their life and they were trying to make it work for them. They all did say that you needed a roommate and they all did say living in the city was very expensive. You had to live a little bit outside of the city
Drive to the action.
and drive to the action, but you can make it work. Really, at the end of the day, I think people in general just think that renting prices in the United States are just expensive overall. As you heard from our first friend, $2,000 is a pretty average rent price, but that's pretty average around the United States in any big city. So it really comes down to, what you want. But listen, I don't want to discourage you. You can make it happen. If you want to move here, you can totally do it.
Does he have some insight? We are moving in a few months. With that's going to come with an increase of rent. So yeah, if you're interested in learning more about where we're moving next, we'd love to do another video about that or just our moving process in general. We're pretty funny. Last year we rented a Toyota Tacoma, like one of those pickup trucks, and we're just driving back and forth for like all day, truly. So thank you for watching this video. Let us know what you thought in the comments below.